Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to another edition of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. I am your host, Ken. I'm sitting across from me this week is the one, the only Padawan J.
You know, we're finding a few topics to talk about this week. It's real hard.
Yeah, it was going to be a slow week, and then bam, Marvel came through so clutch. So clutch. And not to be outdone, we have a Godzilla trailer to talk about just a little later in the show. But hey, the biggest news story of the week is Avengers Endgame trailer is finally released. Join in the conversation on social media, hashtag ODPHEE. If you've been living under a rock and you don't want to hear spoilers, you have been warned, because we're going to dig into it in 3, 2, 1. Pad, what did you think?
Loved the trailer. Didn't give too much away other than, hey, Hawkeye's alive, which is good to see. But it didn't really tell us anything that we didn't already know, other than where in the you-know-what did Cap's beard go.
Yeah, this was finally released to the public. The hype has been built for so long. I mean, that's why I didn't give it an intro to come in with. This has just been the trailer. Everybody that is a fan of Marvel Comics, Marvel films, basically comics in general,
life in general,
has been waiting on. This is such a pop culture moment that we finally got it. I know we were thinking it was going to be released, but obviously Marvel was kind of having a little issues with their scheduling about when to release it, because they came with Captain Marvel at the beginning of the week, and then finally decided to close it with Endgame. And as we see, Tony Stark is in space on, I believe it's the Guardian ship.
Yes, it is.
From the Guardians of the Galaxy. And he's recording his goodbye to Pepper Potts. Because, as he's saying, he's been on the ship for 4 days now.
Well, he's going to. I don't know if he says how long he's been there, but he's been there a while, or it's going to run out.
Yeah, he's running out of food and water for 4 days. Sorry.
Which saw a thing online. Thank you, Thor, for that one. If for those of you who aren't familiar, there is a subreddit on Reddit.com called Movie Details, where they will find the most obscure thing you can possibly think of and tell you about it from a movie that either you don't know of or you might have noticed. Well, somebody caught one. In Infinity War, Thor had soup, but still took about 3 big packet meals from their ship, then their ship being the Guardian ship, when he didn't need it. Later in the Avengers 4 trailer, Tony Stark is stranded in space on the Guardian ship. He ran out of food 4 days ago. Thanks, Thor. And there's an accompanying photo of Thor eating soup in Infinity War. Takes meal out of the fridge on the ship, and then it shows the empty fridge in a background shot.
Incredible.
Yeah. Thank you, Thor.
Pad coming in with the stats on that one. And as we see, Tony Stark is obviously in dire trouble at this point, running out of food and water for 4 days, and oxygen is just a matter of time.
I'll say, because presumably, and I had to do a little bit of thinking about this. Presumably, he was on Titan. He's trying to get back home. Small problem is the ship he got there on was pretty much on autopilot the entire time, and he was not near a window for a good majority of that, so he has no idea where in the you-know-what he is.
Absolutely. So how he gets saved, because we are assuming he's not going out this way.
No.
Is going to be very interesting. The hot rumor is Captain Marvel finds him and saves him.
The other funny thing coming out of this is NASA has offered up its assistance to Marvel Entertainment to find Tony Stark. They tweeted out a day ago as we record, "Hey Marvel, we heard about Tony Stark. As we know, the first thing you should do is listen in Mission Control for Avengers. We have a problem. But if he can't communicate, then we recommend ground teams use all resources to scan the skies for your missing man." To which Marvel tweeted back today, "Appreciate any help you can provide."
See, this just shows of how much of a pop culture event the Avengers have become now.
Yeah.
That NASA's getting involved. I mean,
yeah.
This is just a very cool nod to them. So, I mean, shout out to them. But just to see just the impact of the trailer and just how it's become like the social talk of the week.
It broke records online. It's the most viewed movie trailer online, which I know it broke it. It was like 258 million. Lord knows what it's at now. But I know it broke a record within an hour of being uploaded. It was the fastest video in YouTube history, or movie trailer, in YouTube history to get 1 million likes. It took them an hour to get 1 million likes on YouTube.
That's incredible. Simply incredible.
I also like the other joke that said, it broke the record with 258 million views. Somebody online went, it would have been more, but,
Yeah, the snap heard round the universe, or is it being known as the devastation?
Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard it's called.
Yes, which, I mean, it gives a name to the event.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it works for the sense, but when Thanos did his infamous snap, the views obviously were cut in half for the trailer, but the trailer still did its work. And speaking of Thanos, we did see a little tidbit of where he is now.
Farmer Thanos.
He's now, residing on a farm. We're assuming it's the remade planet of Titan. And we see his costume as a scarecrow.
Yep.
Now, this is a little play to the Infinity Gauntlet where at the end, there's a little scene where he is using his suit as a scarecrow, and Adam Warlock finds him. But obviously, we're not going to have Adam Warlock in this movie.
Right.
That I would suspect, unless this is an all Easter egg of Easter eggs that we have not seen coming. But this is just a cool nod to the original story. And as the trailer is going on, we're finding that on Earth, Captain America, played by Chris Evans, is uniting whatever's left of the Avengers. We see Black Widow. We see Thor.
Thor's someplace. It's not quite 100%. I can't quite 100% say where he is. He's somewhere, and he does not look happy.
No, he doesn't. And I think he was realizing the gravity of the events. And obviously, if you think about it, too, when everybody from Asgard was destroyed by Thanos.
Right.
He never really had time to mourn.
Right, and you think about it, he's now lost his father, his brother, everyone from Asgard, and then half of his friends in the span of like less than a week.
Yeah, and this is just, I mean, for him to go through the toll of what he's gone through, I mean, I'm sure he's reflecting wherever he is. I'm assuming he is with the Avengers compound.
Yeah.
From the gist I'm getting.
The gist I got, or it's either at the compound, or the other thing that kind of occurred to me is, what is it called? I know it's not called the Wrap, but it's like the prison that a bunch of like Team Cap was in at the end of Civil War. It looked like one of the cells from that.
Possibly, but obviously I think with the events going on, anything that was going to be held against the Avengers is out the window. And as Cap is trying to rally the troops and figure a plan out, they're going through of who has survived the event and who hasn't.
Right.
And is being assumed that Scott Lang, Ant-Man, is one of the deceased.
Right, because there's a moment in the trailer where it's presumably at the compound where they have a hologram, like, wall memory wall going, and it shows Peter Parker, and it shows Shuri, and then it shows Scott Lang. So, they all presume he's dead.
Right, which we find out at the end of the trailer that is not to be believed.
Nope.
That he has survived the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we're going to find out how, because he shows up at the Avengers' doorstep with the van that had the gateway to the quantum realm.
Yep.
So the quantum realm is going to play a major factor in Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
When it finally gets rolling. The other tidbit from this trailer, which I marked out for like a madman, and Pad alluded to it just a little bit, Hawkeye is back, but he is not Hawkeye.
No, he's real pissed off.
No, he is Ronin, which if you've read the Bendis run of New Avengers, this is a very key moment in Hawkeye.
And the prevailing theory is that he is Ronin. He has picked up, some form of a mantle again, because if you remember, he was done. He took the plea deal or whatever it was and was going to live with his family out in the middle of, wherever and live peacefully. But so for him, and I can't imagine this is him taking up the mantle. It's like, well, half the heroes are gone. I got to pick it up. No, something tells me, and I don't know anything. I haven't read anything, but I'm, prevailing theory, and I kind of jumped to this idea as well. Only reason he picked up, Ronin or whatever and is doing what he's doing is because his family's gone.
Right, and that's the only thing I could think of as well, because obviously with the events of the devastation, we did not see what was going on with Hawkeye during Infinity War. He was under house arrest, and he was kind of accepting the terms of what happened. Yeah. So now we obviously see there's a whole difference in his character and a whole flip of the script, so to speak.
Well, saying presumably he's taken on Yakuza, which is, whoa boy.
Yeah, which at this point, like I said, the only time we've seen this is in New Avengers.
Right.
And to see the change in character for him, I'm definitely excited to see what it's going to do on the screen, because not to say he's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Thanos by any means.
Yeah.
But is just, if you've read the Bendis run of New Avengers, this is a key point in the history of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And obviously to see it brought to life, and you're going to see the change in direction, because now with the events, you're going to see the effects it has on the heroes and just the toll it's taking. Because even when you hear Captain America talk about his plan, and he's saying this is, and he's talking to Black Widow, and and she's like, this is going to work, Steve. And he's like, it has to, because I don't know what we're going to do if it doesn't.
And the events of the devastation are taking a far more heavy effect on the heroes than it alludes to in the trailer. If I'm not mistaken, there was a tie-in comic that came out for the MCU, the cinematic universe, which kind of gave us the devastation name and gave us the whole thing. The other thing that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, came out of that was that they haven't told the world what happened.
Right.
The world knows something happened because, well, if I'm in a room with my family and half my family's gone, I know something happened, but they don't know what. So the heroes know what happened. It's just they're sitting on it and they haven't told anyone.
Right, because to address the issue, if I'm Captain America, you're the face of the Marvel superheroes as it's established. How do you address, half the universe got wiped out and we didn't stop Thanos?
Well, so you thought people were angry after Sokovia? Boy, it'd be worse after that.
Oh, yeah, it'd be catastrophic on epic proportions. Not that the event already isn't.
No, yeah, it is.
But just the public perception would just be tenfold. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, going into it, they showed enough of the trailer. I mean, it wasn't a super long trailer, but enough that for fans of Infinity War, and if they have not read the Infinity Gauntlet, I think this gives you a little idea of what the direction is going to be.
Well, and it's good for the fans that were kind of like, holy, you know what, where do they go from here? This kind of gives you the, okay, things have gone on. Presumably time has moved on. People have been combing over this trailer with a very, very, very fine-tooth comb to the point where they think, a lot of time has passed because people have been looking at the camera shot of Avengers compound where the grass is a little taller. There's ivy growing over some buildings. So it's kind of given the, okay, time has gone on. The universe didn't stop with, the devastation.
Right. And obviously, with the events going on, the tone is going to be a little darker.
Oh, yeah.
With the film. Which, as it should be, because obviously dealing with such a catastrophic event, this is not going to be your typical Avengers story.
No, this isn't going to be, Thor 3 cracking jokes every 5 seconds.
No. There'll be
jokes.
There'll be jokes here and there, but you're not going to see a lot of elements that would have played into the factor if Marvel had all the rights to the characters. Mm-hmm. As the original Infinity Gauntlet story would have played out. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to see Adam Warlock. We're not going to see the Silver Surfer.
No.
We're not going to see the Fantastic Four.
And that really needs stressing because I know people want to see them in this movie. And don't get me wrong, from a certain perspective, I would too. But it bears stressing again. And I know some people are going to be annoyed that I'm repeating this, but it needs repeating because there are still a portion of people that don't get this. Marvel cannot touch the Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, or X-Men before the deal is done. The movie's done. They might have some post-production stuff. They might have some reshoots to do or whatnot. I know Captain Marvel's going through a couple of minor ones. But they cannot touch those characters. So they're not going to show up in this movie.
Right. The only chance, and note how we stress this, the only chance if you're going to see a character like that would be a post-credit scene that they film on the fly.
Oh, Superfly.
Because it would have to be done, edited within the time span of 3 months.
Yeah.
Which, not to say it can't be done, but I guess the token would be, okay, if we do this here, who are we going to add? What element is going to do the story?
You got to do a lot of footwork other than just saying, hey, we want to bring in Robert Downey Jr. for a last-minute post-credit scene. No, it's not, hey, we just got to find a date that works, fly him out to wherever, and have him film the scene. No, you've got to do some casting. You got to bring in more than just one person. I don't know how many people they typically bring in for casting because I haven't looked that far into the behind the scenes. But you got to bring in people for casting. You got to find the right one. Then you got to get the thing. And it's a whole lot of work for a short amount of time.
The only way this would work, and note how I just want to continue stressing this, and I know we sound like broken records because we're telling you, temper your expectations with this.
Yeah.
We're not saying this is going to happen, but the only way this could happen is if Marvel, Kevin Feige and company already have the person they want to play said character lined up. And almost like an unofficial handshake agreement. As soon as the paperwork's done, you're going to hear an announcement really quick.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only way you're going to possibly see somebody in a post-credits scene. I think the only thing you might hear is a name drop from an already established character.
That could be true.
That you might hear Tony, what are you going to do now with Avengers Tower? Well, I've sold it to a guy named Richards who's going to make it, rename it in the Baxter building.
They could very easily do that.
Yeah, that is the closest you're probably going to see to it. But I would say I would not be super shocked if all of a sudden January 1st rolls out, the paperwork gets done, Marvel wants to make a big media blitz about like, okay, we're going to roll out the next phase, and we've now casted, said actor as Reed Richards and said actress as Sue Storm, and they start establishing the Fantastic Four. Because my early ODPH prediction is that's going to be the first one out of all the property they're getting from Fox that they're going to try getting integrated into the MCU.
Right.
Top, first and foremost. The X-Men will come down the road. But I don't think Marvel would want to bury, per se, Dark Phoenix when it's coming out by saying, oh, yeah, guess what? We've recasted Jean Grey, but here's the Jean Grey played by Sophie Turner that we're just going to completely overshadow.
Right. As cool as it would be to see the X-Men show up in like the big old fight scene that's going to happen in Avengers Endgame, it would completely and utterly overshadow the fact that there's an X-Men movie coming out next year.
Right. And so I think that X-Men are going to be on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Right. But I think if anything, and like I stress, if anything you're going to see, it's going to be the Fantastic Four getting name dropped. Which makes sense because they do play a part in every single major Marvel crossover. Yeah. And especially if you're doing what I'm doing I am fully believing they are going to do Secret Wars. The Jonathan Hickman story, the Russo brothers are going to direct. And if you have read that, which I highly, highly, highly recommend, Doctor Doom is in it.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic Four is in it. And they play a huge role in it. So that being said, if all those parts are moving, you're going to be your little introduction, a little tip of the cap. And like I said, my idea is Tony Stark's going to be like, well, somebody's going to ask him, what are you going to do with the building? He's like, I sold it to a guy named Richards. That's going to be your little Easter egg that people can go speculate with. And then obviously the casting goes from there.
That or there could be something with Captain Marvel where, Tony or Cap or somebody's talking to her and says, oh, hey, what are you going to do now? She's like, well, I was going to hang out, but I just got an alert from, planet such and such or, quadrant such and such about a quantum storm or whatever it is that it gives them their powers. There's there's a ship out in the middle of section blah 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 near planet blah blah blah, and there's a storm that just hit a ship.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Pat. And I didn't even think about that because the only thing we don't know, and I know we are jumping the gun a lot here, is are they going to even bother trying to retell the origin of the Fantastic Four?
I don't think so. I think because people have seen it at least twice now. Admittedly, one was good, the other wasn't.
Yeah.
But I think they've seen a path that works and that go the Spider-Man route that, okay, their story, they're already here.
Right, and I think that would make a lot of sense. So if they do want to go that route, maybe. But I think it's going to be something very simple, low-key, a little tip of the cap to the fans. And obviously with the next generation of Marvel superheroes coming, because this is going to be it for Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, for time being. Right. Not saying that they're not coming back, because I do have an idea that Chris Evans is coming back at some point, but not right away. And I think the mantle gets passed to Sebastian Stan.
Could be.
That is my guess. But to close out the segment, Pat, final thoughts on the trailer.
Is it April yet?
Yeah, because that got moved up. It was supposed to be May 3rd, I believe.
Yeah, it was supposed to be May 3rd or early part of May, but there was almost an overlap in some capacity with the Pokemon movie Detective Pikachu that's coming out that's going to make a boatload of money. So they moved it up just so it wouldn't conflict with that, and they can both have an equal playing space.
It is very interesting to see the direction the Avengers are going to take. It's now named Endgame. It's not based off any story. It's still going to be based off the Infinity Gauntlet story to a degree. So if you can get to your local comic book shops, you should pick up the trade paperback. It's a great read. And overall, I was very impressed with the trailer. It gave enough to get the excitement going, but it didn't give away anything going on in the movie. And anytime we can see Ronin appear,
oh yeah,
that sold it for me. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHEE. What's your thoughts on Avengers Endgame trailer? We want to know. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and the Avengers was not the only trailer to make some noise this past weekend.
Nope.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters, finally released their newest trailer.
Holy cow.
And obviously, this one, I'm definitely excited for.
Yeah.
I liked the last one they did with Bryan Cranston in it. But this one is a whole new retake. It's not, to my knowledge, it's not a shared universe like they were originally going to try doing with like King Kong and such.
No, it is. No,
Oh,
it is a shared universe, and if I'm not mistaken, they're building the next one is going to be if it's not another King Kong movie, at some point like with either the next movie or the movie after, it's going to be King Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay, I'm fully on board for that one.
Oh yeah.
See, because I was hearing like a little mix that they were debating about doing because Kong Skull Island was that tied to this? Was it not?
No, yeah, it is. Initially, Kong Skull Island was going to be its own thing because, if I'm not mistaken, it was at a whole separate movie studio. But then backroom politics, stuff changed hands, and now King Kong is a part of this MonsterVerse, I think they're dubbing it. And yeah, no, it is, because I saw a reaction online to this trailer where somebody said Godzilla's out here fighting two monsters while King Kong's back on Skull Island doing push-ups and crunches.
Well, if you're going to do a monster shared universe, that's the two you need.
Oh, yeah.
You need King Kong and you need Godzilla. Everybody else is expendable. You don't need the Mummy or anybody else that you were going to throw in there.
Yeah.
These are your major two.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, with Godzilla, I lose track because I hear so much. Like every time a new movie comes out, is it going to be shared? Is it not? We don't know. I mean, this is dating back to when they did the reboot with Matthew Broderick way back when.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're finally getting the new one. And this one looked incredible.
Holy cow.
Pad, what did you think?
I'm very curious to see what happens in this movie, because if there was any level of destruction in the first movie, which there was a lot, half of, I believe it was San Francisco, got torn to the ground. This one looks like it's going to be like an entire half of the globe.
Yeah, this one definitely seemed to be far-reaching.
Yeah.
I mean, as it opens up, you have Millie Bobby Brown, who you know from Stranger Things. Sounds like she's trying to make a distress call.
Yeah, she's trying to get a hold of somebody. We don't know who. The trailer kind of is cut or edited in a way that it sounds like she stops or gets cut off. I think who she's trying to get a hold of has been cut out of the trailer. They're trying to keep that a little bit of a secret. I don't know who. That's just my guess.
Yeah, and I think they played it very well because you don't want to give away too much in this.
No.
Because especially with Godzilla, like I said, you can either go one of two ways with it. He's always either portrayed as the hero that helps, whatever city he's in.
Yep.
Or he's the monster that's trying to destroy everybody. And obviously, I think he plays to his strengths when they put him in a heroic role.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because you really sit there and you're not. This isn't like an anti-hero by any means, but you're just sitting there going, okay, you have this badass monster that is fighting other monsters. Like this is what you expect to see. Because if you're going to have him go fight, armies and what such, it just doesn't have the same impact.
Right.
That you're just kind of go through. And as we're seeing with this distress signal is trying to go out. And obviously there's a bunch of different government agencies involved. And they're trying to figure out, okay, there's monsters popping up all over the world. Which I thought was very nice because they showed enough that unless you're a hardcore Godzilla fan, you really didn't know who was involved. Right. But if you are, you're definitely happy at the lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Because as they're showing, you see pictures of Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Which, if you know anything about the Godzilla universe, that's your heavy hitters.
Oh, yeah. They're coming out swinging.
Yes. And this is what you want to see because they all looked really well. You saw little bits and pieces and a couple, up-close cameos.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So as a fan, I definitely liked what I saw.
Oh, yeah, and it's just the most absurd, and I mean that in the best way possible, things you see. I mean, at one point in the trailer, one of them, I don't know who, I can't tell who, comes out of an exploding volcano.
Yeah.
Another one tears an entire mountain apart.
And that's the thing, too, because you want to establish this to the mainstream audience. Because your hardcore fans are going to go no matter what.
Oh, they're sold. They're going to see it 15 times.
I mean, they've gone to the remake was last year, Shin Godzilla?
Yes.
And then the one with Bryan Cranston. I mean, they'll come out in full force for Godzilla.
God, yeah.
So you don't need to sell the movie to them.
No.
Like, we know a couple Godzilla fans that are already having this date circled on their calendar more than Avengers Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
This is a true story, folks.
Yeah.
You can hit us up on hashtag ODPHE if you want to get more clarification about this. But for those fans, they don't need any convincing. They just need to go, okay, how does Godzilla look? And how does the other monsters look? But for the non-comic movie fans, so to speak, and the mainstream ones, you really have to sell the point of this.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job, because this is just going to be an old school monster movie,
right,
made in the 2000s.
Right, and you have to convince the people, like we said, who aren't fans, that this isn't just going to be a wash, rinse, repeat of the first movie, where it's going to be, a couple monsters show up, they tear stuff apart, Godzilla goes a couple rounds with them before he ultimately wins. No, I think they really show this. I mean, there's at one point, there's a shot, and I believe we saw it in the first trailer, where it's, Washington, D.C., and there's like a lightning storm, there's like 5 or 6 tornadoes going on. It's like, end of days type of stuff. I mean, there's a scene where it's like the Middle East someplace, or in Africa someplace, where like, Mothra's flying over it, creating a sandstorm. It's just like the worst catastrophic stuff you've seen.
But that's what you want to see with big monsters doing this. Because if there was really no destruction, you wouldn't believe it.
No.
And I know it's going to sound kind of weird with this statement, but you want a realistic monster movie as much as possible, because you don't want to have this go through and just like, oh, it's all swept up in a day.
Right. You don't want this to be like Lord of the Rings, where Legolas shows up at the end of every battle looking perfectly fine and pristine.
Right. And I think that as you're kind of seeing the societies involved and the different government agencies, I think the one that has been named is called Monarch.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing that, even those players involved, the senators, the governors of whatever countries, are all meeting, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what's the best route to do this?
Right, because you got to figure from their perspective, their entire world just got upended and turned on its head when Godzilla in the first movie. You've gone from a world where, okay, humans are, the alpha predators, we're top of the food chain, to we're lucky if we're even halfway up that food chain now.
Right, and I know there was a great quote in the movie, I think it was by Ken Watanabe.
Yeah.
That they were saying about how Godzilla, somebody in the room goes, oh, you want to make him your pet?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, he'll make us his pet.
Yeah, which is not wrong.
No, which is not. Like, we will be his.
Yeah.
And when that hit, it was like, you know what? They're right.
Yeah, you can try and control him. It's not going to fly.
No, it definitely won't. And like I say, they're calling the other monsters Titans in this.
Uh-huh.
And the Titans are emerging. And like when they first said this, because like I said, I was not fully on board that this was going to be a sequel in a shared universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, are they going to try doing like Clash of the Titans? I know I'm throwing it back, and I know I'm going to get some angry tweets about that. But I was just like, okay, this is kind of interesting. They're going to refer to them as Titans, and I think it's kind of a nice wordplay to try, instead of saying monsters,
right?
Because certain fans are going to hear that and they're like, what?
Yeah.
I don't want to go see monster.
Yeah.
What's that? What does that mean? But this, you're establishing the threats. And especially, I think, with movies like Pacific Rim, they've shown that there is an audience for this. So to bring Godzilla back, because I know a lot of times it's hit or miss. We talked about the one, I believe it was 96 or 98.
97.
97, yeah. Like I say, with Matthew Broderick, which that film was not well received.
No.
And then to bring him back with Bryan Cranston, and that film was, fans liked it, critically, to be determined.
It was a mixed bag. It was
a mixed bag. So anytime you're bringing a character back like that you get such a polarizing reaction,
right? You
really want to make sure you knock it out of the park, and you obviously want to please your fan base, because they've been supporting this ever since the movies were coming out way back when.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's to live up to the tribute, and definitely what we saw big monsters, big catastrophic events.
Yeah.
They teased enough that it's like, this is just going to be a rock'em sock'em, monster bash, which that's what you need to do. You don't really need to spend a lot of time on like the plot,
no,
per se. Like I say, you don't need to make this Expendables where, it's just kind of like randomly thrown together. Like, okay, here's the plot. Yeah. Monsters are emerging. How do we react? And then we have one that's willing to save the world, so to speak. And the one thing, too, which Pad was talking off air about, and I really want him to clarify, too, is do you really think they nailed the speed of the monsters and just how realistic they were?
I mean, holy cow, I'm not an expert, but if you watch the end of the trailer where I believe it's Godzilla's getting ready to charge at King Ghidorah, he's booking.
Yeah.
That was frightening. Like, if there was anything incredible about the first movie, and I saw the first movie in IMAX, which was the first movie, big release I'd ever seen in IMAX. The big thing with the first movie was his roar, because that's the big thing everyone looks forward. A lot of people look forward to is how's it going to sound. And I remember going to see the first one in IMAX, and my chair shook. Like, I'm not talking like, oh no, they made it shake. No, my chair, from the sound and the Dolby speakers and everything that comes with. If you've been to an IMAX movie, you know what I'm talking about. My chair physically shook. So the thing with this movie is, okay, we're gonna have more than just the roar, more than just the breath. He's booking of wherever the heck they're fighting, and somebody pointed this out to me, and I'm like, I'm slightly afraid.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting take because you typically haven't seen that kind of speed.
No.
With Godzilla.
No.
You've seen him move. I'm not saying he's been, robotic, so to speak.
Right.
Except what, Mechagodzilla?
Yeah.
But that's a whole different ball of wax. But this one, you were really seeing him move and really, I want to say, just really nailed the part of just being not one-dimensional and just, kind of slow moving and slow trucking. Like, you were seeing him move. It almost kind of reminded me of, like, World War Z with the zombies.
Yes.
And just how fast they were going.
Yes.
Because I was sitting there going, like, yeah, he's really booking. Like, they're really doing the speed right, and they're really doing it. And you saw just enough that it's like, okay, obviously Godzilla is a big threat.
Yeah.
And obviously the other monsters are a threat. You didn't see the radioactive breath. You didn't see
They teased it a little bit.
They teased it, but you didn't see enough. But it was enough that I think overall it definitely set the tone that they want to set for the movie. And which is, we're going to make a big monster movie to please the old school fans, but to bring new ones in. Because if you've never seen Godzilla before, this is going to hook you on it. And I think that they did a very good job with it. Pat, final thoughts on it before we close the segment out?
Very excited to see the movie. I admittedly, before the first movie, wasn't the biggest Godzilla fan, but I was still interested to go see it. I'm very excited for this one.
I am too. I mean, especially if this is going to be a shared universe with King Kong, that's your money fight.
Oh, yeah.
I know we talk about it on the flagship ODPHEE show about big money fights. King Kong versus Godzilla is definitely your money fight, and especially coming off Kong Skull Island. If it's going to be the shared one, I can't wait to see it. But this one definitely is going to be a summer classic, and especially coming out where it's getting overshadowed, I think, by all the Disney films coming out, Avengers coming out.
It's flying under the radar.
It's definitely flying under the radar, but it's something to definitely keep an eye on for.
Yep.
Because sometimes those that fly under the radar are the ones that make the biggest noise. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHE. What was your thoughts on Godzilla, King of the Monsters trailer? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is George Gatton, and you are listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition.
Coming back for segment number 3 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. Now, this weekend as we are recording is the Battle of Marvel Films, so to speak.
Avengers versus X-Men.
You would think, but not so much. And we're going to do a little clarification, because out this week is Into the Spider-Verse, the animated Marvel movie featuring Spider-Man and every single Spider-Man from alternate dimensions, all wrapped up into one, and is the re-release of Deadpool. Now, this is going to be the Once Upon a Deadpool PG-13 version.
That looks more and more incredible with each passing day.
Yes, this one is definitely looking more, and they just released the Fred Savage Nickelback trailer.
Holy crap.
Which, if you have not seen it, we can't even do it justice.
No.
You need to watch it wherever you can watch trailers. It looks incredible.
Oh my God, it's the funniest thing I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, and plus I think another thing cool, which I know we've talked about in previous episodes too, is when you purchase a ticket for Deadpool, $1 from each ticket goes to cancer research.
Yes.
So it's a great cause to go to if you're going to watch Deadpool again. And obviously the take they're going to do for the PG-13 is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But let's break it down from this. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Pad, what is your thoughts on that?
I have an interesting relationship with this movie because when this movie was announced, I had no interest in seeing this because, for me, the bar with Spider-Man animated stuff has always been the cartoon in the 90s, and everything else falls far below it, But as time went on and I kind of started to see more and more of it, I slowly have swung back the other way, and I'm actually interested to see this movie now.
Yeah, I was on the fence when I first heard about it because when I hear Marvel animation, I don't really get that amped up.
No.
Like, when you talk about DC animated films, yeah, okay, that's when you really got my attention. But Marvel has not exactly had the home runs in that aspect compared to their distinguished competition. With this one, though, it was definitely something interesting. As we were down in New York Comic-Con this year, there was a lot of hype behind the movie.
Yeah.
And we were talking with fans coming out of the panel, and nothing but rave reviews.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, this is really good. Like, you're going to be really surprised.
And we were surprised when we were reading stuff before the panel got out that we talked about it on a previous episode. I think it was our recap episode of Comic-Con, They showed, what was it, like a half hour of footage?
Yeah, they showed the first act.
They showed the entire first act of the movie, which were like, that's real risky. Either it's going to be really good or they have no confidence in the movie.
Yeah, and it was something, obviously, Marvel has taken a big gamble with it because hypothetically, if it was awful, and let's just say fans hated it, if you showed a half hour of that to a rabid fan base, that is, obviously when you go to Comic-Cons, you have the top echelon of fans, that are there just supporting fandom.
You're dealing with the fans that are going to convince, like we said before with the Godzilla trailer, it's the fans that you're not going to have an issue getting to the movie. You're going to be kind of the megaphones that say, no, you really need to go see this movie. It's going to be incredible.
Right. So you need to nail it out of the park. And for Marvel, they did.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, we've heard nothing but great things about this. And, I mean, it's just a simple synopsis of they're now introducing Miles Morales into the animated universe, so to speak, but to the mainstream audience, this is the first time we're going to see him in a major film.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that they're going to cross over with a Peter Parker from another world, and you're going to see Spider-Gwen, and you're going to take it back to Star Comics, Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham.
Yes.
Which I know I'm throwing it back on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But this is just an eclectic mix of just different heroes from different timelines. And like I said, you're going to see Spider-Gwen, a.k.a. Ghost Spider. And the reaction of this movie already has spawned a sequel is in the works.
Oh, yeah.
And they're doing a spin-off starring Ghost Spider and a bunch of the female characters of the Spider-Verse.
And it really says something about a movie when you're announcing sequels before the darn thing's even out yet. Like, I don't even think they had the premiere for this thing.
Right. To my knowledge, no. I mean, the reviews have been coming out, so maybe it was very quiet and under the radar. Because every site I've read talking about reviews have said, this is going to blow you away. This might be the best Spider-Man movie you've ever seen. I've read this on a few sites.
I believe it.
And I'm going, okay, you have piqued my interest. Because, like I said, I'm definitely excited to go see it because I think Miles Morales is long overdue to be introduced onto the MCU or any major motion picture. I think it's long overdue. It was hinted in Homecoming.
Right.
But obviously now this is going to be our first taste of seeing what we can do with the character as fans on the major big screen.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's a lot of hype going into this. Now, on the flip side, you have Deadpool coming back to theaters.
Right.
And they've really made a point to go, okay, you've seen Deadpool 2.
Right.
How many times we've made all our money with this. Now we're going to flip it for a PG-13 audience.
Right, and they're doing everything they can to stress we're not just pushing this out for a cash grab.
Mm.
It definitely, and one of the things I hope they do with this, and it kind of appears they're tweaking this a little bit, not so much the story, but just kind of how things, flow through the movie. I'm hoping that they come to a point where, like, Deadpool is really struggling with it, because he breaks the fourth wall every 5 seconds. I'm hoping they come to a point where, like, he goes to swear and he just keeps getting bleeped out. He's like, I'm so tired of bleep.
Yeah, and they're going to have to do something different, but this is a very interesting take because obviously I don't think it was planned to go against each other when this was first announced. So, like we say, this is going to be a big weekend for Marvel because I think fans are going to go to both movies, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Because Deadpool 2, you know what you're getting, but they're going to remix it a little bit. And plus, I think this is going to be a test, too, for Fox, or Disney, rather, of getting the Fox character in and seeing can we still make a profitable movie involving Deadpool at a PG-13 rating.
Right, and I know that's got some fans kind of worried that they don't, to the point where some don't want to even go see the movie because they don't want to give Disney that inkling that, oh, I'm okay with seeing a PG-13 Deadpool. I'm okay with seeing a toned-down Deadpool. Now, Disney has said in the past in conference calls and such that, should there be a market for an R-rated film going forward with the things they are acquiring, they'll do it. Will they, water down Deadpool to PG-13? I would hope not, but weirder things have happened.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the, box office numbers draw. Because I think for both movies, because, I mean, honestly, we really don't know that much going back to Into the Spider-Verse, what the movie's basically about. It's just all these different spider characters are coming together to fight a threat.
Oh, yeah, only thing I can gather from the trailer, and I can't remember if I saw this in a trailer or one of the ads that's running on TV, but I think essentially the plot is like, okay, something happens to bring all of these spider heroes together, and they need to fix it because I think it's a TV ad where Miles says, we need to stop this or it's going to tear my world apart.
Right. And then obviously you see on the flip side, Deadpool is retelling the story, albeit in the sense of a Princess Bride. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be there's so many elements going on with this. It's a win-win for fans.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it doesn't matter if you're a Marvel fan, DC fan. This is just a great weekend for comic fans at the box office.
It's a win for Nickelback.
Well, it is, because, I mean, obviously, if you see the trailer, you know exactly what we're talking about.
It got to the point where, and this is the only way I found out about this morning, otherwise it would have flown under my radar entirely. Ryan Reynolds tweeted out the trailer this morning, which he's at Van City Reynolds, simply saying December 12th, hashtag respect the back. And Nickelback saw this trailer, quoted it, and said, quote, well, that's one way to start your day.
Absolutely. I mean, this just shows the range that Deadpool is. I mean, arguably one of Marvel's biggest heroes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, it's arguably, you can say he's in the top echelon.
He's gone from one of the hardcore fans' most favorites to, I would say, one of the general public's most favorite and most recognized.
And to put him up against Spider-Man, and let alone Miles Morales Spider-Man mixed in, that's going to be a really interesting thing to see who ends up being the number one at the box office.
Yeah.
Because for Marvel, this is going to be a telling point on two sides, like we said. For their animated division, everything we've heard about this movie is just incredible. So for them, they need to have a home run out of the park. Mm-hmm. I don't think it needs to be number one at the box office per se, but they need to do a good number.
No, it is definitely a kind of good gauge for them of, okay, if we want to do further animated movies, because yes, they have announced these movies, but if the movie doesn't do well, then all stops are going to be put on those future projects. But it's a good gauge for them of, okay, is there a market for us to do these animated movies? How well are they going to be received, and where can we go from here? Yeah,
because they definitely need to establish that bar, because obviously flying in under the house of Disney, this is not a Disney animated film.
No, and presumably, they could go if they do future animated films, they could go real crazy with this and start doing a lot of stuff they can't do with the MCU.
They can, but this is good. Like I said, there's a lot of possibilities they can go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, Pat. They can definitely go a lot of places that they typically wouldn't be able to go with the MCU. Mm-hmm. Will they? I don't know. And then on the other side of the coin, going back and forth here, with Deadpool, this is going to be to establish, can they do an edgier character at a PG-13 rating without compromising the character?
To me, and I don't know, this is, because if you see the documentary, this film is not yet rated, where it really dives into kind of the inner workings of how a movie is rated by the MPAA. The details escape me, but there's certain criteria that, okay, you start your G rating and this is what constitutes a PG-13 and so on and so forth. I get the feeling that this movie is going to be one full check mark. It's going to be like a half check mark. Mm-hmm. It's going to be like half a check mark away from being an R-rated movie.
Well, it's going to have to be. I mean, obviously, when you deal with characters that are the style that Deadpool is, and let's not sugarcoat it, he's not exactly a Mickey Mouse type character, no pun intended. Mm-hmm. He is very R-rated.
Right.
And that's how he works.
And there's some very graphic stuff in the R-rated cut of Deadpool 2, which now that I'm thinking about it, I would totally love for there to be a scene, one of those scenes where it's a graphic, fight, graphic death, graphic whatever, and he just kind of pauses the movie and says, we're going to skip this part for reasons.
Yeah, because he's notorious for breaking the fourth wall. They're going to be relying on that very heavy. And obviously this will be the benchmark to see where they go forward, because if they can make it work with Deadpool, I think the only character that they probably can't make it work with is the Punisher.
Yeah, no way they can do that.
Or Carnage.
Oh, God, no.
I mean, obviously that's going to be a different studio because it's Sony, but it's going to be interesting to see, because now with the Spider-Verse coming out, that's going to set a benchmark there. Deadpool PG-13 coming out, that's going to set a different benchmark. But we want to know what you think. Let us know. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHEE. What's your thoughts on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? What's your thoughts on Deadpool, the PG-13 version? Are you going to see them? Are you not? We want to know. Hit us up. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is the King of Lyle, Luke Visengard, Gladius 205 champion, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for the final segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. And Pat, why don't you start us off with those one-shots?
Well, last week was a big week for video games, not because anything huge came out. Well, there was one thing, Super Smash Brothers. kudos to anyone playing that. It looks like a lot of fun. But no, the Video Game Awards did take place Thursday last week. Red Dead Redemption darn near stole the show. I think there was only 3 categories it was nominated in that it didn't win. However, it did win in the categories of Best Performance for Roger Clark's portrayal as the main character, Arthur Morgan. It won for Best Audio Design, Score, and Music. 2 separate awards there. Also Best Narrative. So Best Narrative would be kind of like your best screenplay, best story if you were talking Oscars. God of War also won big. They won Best Game Direction, so that'd be kind of like maybe Best Director if I'm talking Oscar equivalents. Best Action Adventure Game, and then the big surprise of the night, it won Game of the Year, beating out Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man, Celeste. It shocked a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
No, although I was talking with some friends, at the end of the day, it kind of made sense because the thing with Red Dead Redemption 2 is, while yes, it is one of the best games of the decade and one of the best video games of all time, it will be remembered as such. It was also a prequel where you knew where it had to end. You knew where it had to go. There are characters who show up in the game that are never seen nor mentioned in the original Red Dead Redemption, which takes place after this. So it's kind of like you kind of knew where it was going. Whereas with God of War, it took a well-established and well-loved franchise, turned it on its head, going from Greek mythology to Norse mythology, while also incorporating the past. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Other notable winners, Fortnite, of course, the mega popular Battle Royale game, won Best Ongoing Game as well as Best Multiplayer Game.
That's to be expected.
Oh, yeah. They get real creative with that. And, it's been out for I don't know how long, and fans are still loving it and going crazy for it. Other notable winners, Forza Horizon 4 won Best Sports/Racing Game, and then also Best Fighting Game went to Dragon Ball FighterZ. Moment of the night for me had to be right at the outside of the show, where you had the heads of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo America all on stage together, where I was watching this and I'm like, this is incredible, because I cannot remember the last time this happened.
I honestly can't remember that happening either.
No, because you think especially back to, the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 days, where it was such a heavy console war, and who's better, who's the they wanted nothing to do with each other and really didn't collaborate on anything. To see them all on stage at the same time was really a cool sight to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-blowing to even think that all 3 of them got up there and were just, and they had a great message, though. Absolutely, because, true, when you get together with your fellow, competitors, I guess, because I don't even like thinking of them as competitors. I mean, everybody does their own thing, they do their own brands, but when they all come together and make something happen for the fans, I mean, it's truly, that's what you're in it for.
And the head of Nintendo America, Reggie Fils-Aimé, I know I probably butchered that name, but the head of Nintendo America, Reggie, could have been anywhere in the world. And, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was released that night. So, realistically, he could have been anywhere in the world, but no, he was there to celebrate video games.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an awesome sight to see. Awesome. So, for my one-shots, I got a couple I'm going to kind of hit off in bullet point style. DC Titans this week was the origin episode of Hawk and Dove.
Oh, okay.
I mean, for the universe it's in, it was very well done. It is very NSFW.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to say some of the subject matter is a little uncomfortable. But I thought they did a superb job explaining Hawk and Dove and kind of how they came together. I mean, there's a little comic book element to it, but overall, I mean, you just kind of see where they're coming from. And they took a break from the main story, which I'm not complaining about, because there's only a couple episodes left of Titans this season. So they did a really good job with it. And like I said, if you're not too familiar with who Hawk and Dove are, this is a very good way to show it.
Okay.
Because you get basically the nuts and bolts of it, so to speak. I mean, they don't really sugarcoat anything. It's really in your face. I thought it was very well done. My next one shot, Netflix has a lot of stuff coming out. Unfortunately, it's not Daredevil, but I'm not even going to get into it because I get fired up when I talk about it. But Voltron, the final season, is out this weekend.
Yep.
So definitely check it out if you haven't seen Voltron yet. I know we've been trying to book another anime show with Retro Matt and Mike Pathy from Rye Bread coming back on. But this one, definitely, Netflix is doing a lot of great work with the anime world. Voltron, not exactly your typical anime, so to speak, but it's definitely worthwhile checking out, and it's very short to get through all the seasons. And this one, I can't wait to see where they end up.
If you were a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender when that was on air on Nickelodeon, you'll enjoy this.
Absolutely. Voltron has been nothing but a knockout of the park from episode 1. So I'm definitely excited to see where it finally ends up. They also did some teaser trailers for Stranger Things Season 3, where they announced the names of the episodes.
Yep.
And it's, obviously it's going to be set in the summer of 85. Not really sure what to expect, but it's going to be a ratings juggernaut. And obviously everybody's going to be checking that out. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But what I was happy to finally see was the Umbrella Academy.
Oh, okay.
Now, I have read this way back when. If you know My Chemical Romance, Gerard Way wrote this series, actually. And Gabriel Bai, which I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, drew it under the Dark Horse label. It's definitely a very quirky series.
Sure.
I almost want to say it's like in the same kind of different, outside the box vein as Doom Patrol.
Okay.
But I'm excited to see it come on Netflix. They did the trailer. If you haven't seen it, I can't even do it justice. I thought it was awesome. And if you want to get on board now, I recommend it. It's coming out February 15th on Netflix.
Okay.
So get on board, check it out. It is going to be the sleeper hit that you're going to be hearing about when it comes out because it's very different, but it's very, very cool. At the comic shops this week, though, there's a couple new series coming out. Batman, He Who Laughs. And this is the Batman that was in Dark Knight's Metal. That is the mix of Batman and the Joker.
Oh.
The absolutely frightening, terrifying one.
I'd agree with that. I've seen the photos.
And Scott Snyder and Jock are doing the book. And this is just going to be mind-blowing on a whole other level. If you haven't read Dark Knight's Metal, what are you waiting for? Pick it up already. It is incredible. And coming on the heels of Into the Spider-Verse, there's a new Miles Morales Spider-Man book coming out by Marvel, so check it out. And to follow up about something we were getting tipped off about last week, the Far From Home trailer was pushed back, but it did make its appearance at the Brazilian Comic-Con.
Yeah, there's a Brazilian Comic-Con called CCXP, if I'm not mistaken, which from what I understand, it's quickly becoming like the South American equivalent of San Diego Comic-Con, which it's like that much of a must-attend event. So, yeah, they were originally going to show the trailer at that panel, that venue, and then as soon as either that panel was done or the trailer was done showing, they were going to post it online. But then, for reasons unknown, it got delayed, and we didn't see anything. But they did end up showing the trailer at that panel. Descriptions are online from people who were in the room if you want to read them. It sounds interesting to me. I'm can't wait to see the full trailer myself. But and then I guess Tom Holland gave the reason that we wanted to show this to you guys because you guys have been really supportive for me since I got the job. So I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, so there's been some spoilers that have been leaked out. If you want to read them, you can definitely check online. I am predicting, though, we are going to see the trailer this weekend when Into the Spider-Verse comes out in movie theaters.
Probably.
That is my unofficial leap this week, if you follow the other show, that I predict is going to be in movie theaters this weekend. And I'm excited to see it. But that's all we got for this week. We definitely gave you a lot of options this week. There's a lot of movies coming out, definitely a lot of cool things at the comic book shops. Netflix has got a lot of movies going on. The DC Universe app, if you don't have it and you're a DC Comics fan, you need to get on board. And definitely, if you have not subscribed, rated, or liked the podcast, definitely, we want to hear it. We definitely want to know what you're thinking. Hit us up on that hashtag. Hit us up on the social media. Hit us up on the subscribe button. Let us know what you're thinking of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. For Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.